Focus continues tonight with your leading stories. The country's fight against crime has been bolstered with the deployment of over 10,000 newly trained police officers. The recruits completed a basic police development learning program course. Independent Policing Union of South Africa President Bethuel Nkuna joins us now for more. Good to have you, Mr. Nkuna, and thank you very much for your time. What does it mean that the police have completed a basic policing learning development program? What skills, what capacity do they now have, and how does this assist us as a country in our fight against crime?
Good evening to the viewers. It's supposed to mean a lot, but we need to alert the public to say it doesn't really matter because of the new recruits that must hit the boots on the floor. They are only coming to replace, not necessarily to add in terms of what we need, in terms of the crime in the country. The reason why we say so is because of, in terms of attrition, the boots on the ground that has left the police is about 15,000. So that basically means what it meant to add is only 10,000 that is meant to add in terms of the 50,000 deficit. So that basically means we still have a deficit of about 5,000 policemen on the force.
What has led to such a devastating degree in terms of attrition in the South African police service? How do we get to a point, as you put it, where we are losing 15,000 coming out of the system, yet we are only able to just replace with 10,000?
We need what we need right now in terms of within the police service. We need an audit. What do we have in the court before we can add? Because we as Independent Policing Union of South Africa, we are appealing to the Minister of Police together with what do I mean? The commissioner. We need to source within what we have. What is it out to have within before we can want to add?
Right. But my question is more, Mr. Nkuna, on what is it that we need to do to retain police within the service? Because my fear is that even these new recruits, pretty soon, you and I will be having a discussion to say they have also left the system because we couldn't retain them.
Yes, yeah. I think that is very relevant. We need to retain what we have. What we need to retain that we have. We have very resourced and very educated policemen and women within the system. Mm-hmm. But how do we retain them? What we don't do as staffs. There are very much people who are not happy within the system in terms of what they have serviced the people of South Africa. But the system within is not servicing them enough in terms of how do you service the people. There's no fairness in terms of promotions. There's no fairness in terms of someone who has retained himself or herself in the system to serve the service. We have what we call plastic cops. What we mean about plastic cops is someone who's been sourced out of a political system, someone who has not been within, someone who has not been serviced, someone who has not been served, someone who has been trained within the system, who's going to come and command someone who's been there in the system to command someone who's been trained in the system. So we've got so much people, so much service who have not been served in terms of being promoted, in terms of how the the person who deserves to be there in the service, but he has to be serviced by someone who's coming out of the service. So we've got a lot of people who are not happy within the system. So until we service the people who deserve to be in positions to command the system where they deserve to be within, it is then that we can have so much people who are going to be able to service subs the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. A panel of experts recently reporting on the state of our public order policing said this, Mr. Nkuna, says the South African Police Service indicates that public order policing is fragmented, but recommends that it be maintained as a specialist unit that prioritizes the protection of human life. Now we are hearing from Atlanta that this particular program, out of this 10,000, 4,000 are newly trained officers who will be deployed to public order policing in a bid to bolster the police force's efforts to respond to crowd control. To your knowledge, has there been specialized training and skilling that has been given to these new recruits, especially in the area of public order policing, which has, for example, you remember Andres Tatana, you remember a number of other instances where police were responding to public order issues and use excessive force, and there was a lot of criticism around how they respond to public disorder. Is there specialized training, in your view, that has been given to these recruits?
The new recruits are just coming in as it's a generic training that they've been given into. The problem that is being given to the public is that the president has promised that we're gonna new boots on the ground, but in terms of where are they specifically being placed into, there's a problem there because the police force has been lacking. Before COVID-19, we've been lacking in terms of new recruits, in terms of the boots on the ground. So we don't want to put pressure on the new recruits in terms of maybe thinking maybe they're going to sort the problem. In terms of how crime is escalated into the country. Yeah. The new recruits are just coming into the system, but they are not necessarily new recruits, because SAPS has been taking about 15,000 policemen that has left the force in terms of attrition, in terms of people have left the force, in terms of retirements and being dismissed and everything. Yeah. So as much as we appreciate the new recruits, but they're not necessarily adding anything into the system, yeah, but they're only replacing.
So what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Nkuna, is that we could be looking at a possibility of putting newly trained officers, for example, to respond to rather complex and complicated and somewhat dangerous crowd control situations which they are not adequately trained for.
No, in terms of adequately trained for, they are very much adequately trained for. But in terms of adding the numbers, in terms of the boots on the ground, the answer is no. Okay. They are not adding, but they are only replacing. Okay. Because there are a lot of policemen that we have lost.
All right. So the sense from many people, especially during the COVID-19, was that what certainly helped and what is responding to crime situation is the visibility of police. And visibility means we have more boots on the ground. So you're saying that as much as we are expecting that there will be now 10,000 new recruits, this is not necessarily going to improve on the question of police visibility.
No, this one is not going to improve because it's only going to replace that we have lost. Yeah. We're going to appreciate maybe in terms of continuing in terms of the budget that we expect as Independent Policing Union of South Africa. It's about maybe if we can have an additional of maybe at least 10,000 more, but out of that 10,000 we expect only 5,000, that's going to be an additional, because out of 15,000, now we got 5,000. That's going to be replacing. So if we're going to give 10,000 more.
That is Bethuel Nkuna, the president of the Policing Union of South Africa. That's where we're going to leave it for tonight. Of course, the police responding, saying because of the attrition difficulties, this is not necessarily going to be adding more boots on the ground in terms of growing the number, but of course it is replacing those who have left. This, of course, quite contrary to what the commissioner saying, that this will improve on police visibility, one that certainly leaves a lot of questions still to be answered. Meanwhile,